Good evening, one and all. We are going to be doing the Blender Challenge tonight. It's been a while since we did this. Originally, this was designed to be done by multiple people. We were unable to coordinate, and thus it never actually took place. Instead, it has taken on a new flair, which is an opportunity to try and see how quick one can try and make an animated short. Now, this is not an official Blender Challenge. This is like the follow-on to the one that happened just prior to me having to cut back on the streams. So thus, we're going to be returning to a project of which the last thing was being done was making a duck. And that was going to be the character for this short. Now, these things are honestly simple in scope. It's not designed to be super complex just because it's designed to be done in one go. So the last two Blender challenges that took place where it is actually completed from start to finish, it proved to be quite challenging for myself because it was stretching me beyond what I currently could be able to do. Here's an example of a relatively simple go at the first challenge. You'll notice the textures are very far off. There is very simple animation, and most of the time was spent trying to do the modeling. It was quite complex for just being a few hours. Now, if I was to try and do this again, it would be much faster, and that was one of the benefits that I learned in this process, trying to get faster with each iteration. Now, the second one, which I don't have rendered out, is something that is, well, I don't have rendered out in a pre-render. That it will all appear on the Castercraft YouTube and Rumble channel in a once this next one is finished. Then I'm going to put all three back to back, and that way people can see the process from start to finish and the improvements that happen through it. If you have an interest in participating in this in the future, there is a team concept that was developed for this. It was the original idea. And through that idea, people would be participating live and streaming what they are doing. And it all would be coming back to this channel in order to try and showcase their work. Then each of those pieces would come together for the final video. Honestly, it was a lot of fun the very first time we tried it. It was the simplest out of all of them, but the process proved to be a good idea. And what's more, it opened it up to people that were brand new to 3D modeling. So, if you know people that want to participate in stuff like this, be sure to mention that, and we will gladly incorporate them into future iterations of it. For now, we are going to be resuming the work that was being done. Now, I don't talk as much through this one, which is tough for me. I do ramble an awful lot. So, you'll see how long I can go before I get distracted. So now this was the scene beforehand, and this was right here. You'll see there are two duck-like figures. This one right here was the animatic. The idea behind this was that it would give us the ability to see how the shot was to be animated. Stand by, it's thinking as it tries to change scenes here. By the way, I also found out how to ban stuff on Twitch, like how to ban the bots, and so I'm going to be incorporating that. So I'm hoping that some bots respond tonight, because I want to be able to crack down on the text, because I finally got that figured out. All right, this thing is taking a while to change here. There we go. I was building the shaders, that's why. So last time, the majority of the time was spent making the apples and the sandwich. You'll notice that we're incorporating the table from the first Blender challenge. The textures have not been updated or anything. And you'll notice that there's a cup. Now this is the third cup that has been made in these challenges, and this one went far faster. The one that caused the most problems was the sandwich, if I remember right, just because I was trying to figure out how to pull it off and was spacing during much of it. Alright, so now let's see how this thing was supposed to be animated. It's like this, and the head comes up and just slides off? I don't remember what I was planning to do with that. Oh, I forgot to share this. Oh, so stand by just a second. By the way, before we dive into it too much, I just want to take a quick moment to, where'd I put that? A quick moment to mention about the Castercraft website. So there's been a lot of small changes in the background. They're not really visible, but it is designed to try and make the whole process of incorporating stories and whatnot into this website easier, and also to make it easier to be able to interact with these streams. Of which we can very quickly come in and be able to add in some sound effects. Now let me double check that the audio is coming through. That's why I wanted to test that. Hey, it worked. Okay. First is Inertia. Greetings, Inertia. How you doing? All right. So, here we go. All right, so let's try and figure out what we're going to be doing with the duck right here. So the duck comes along and pops up its head, and then what? Just got home from work to go back home to do more work. And it's understandable. Hopefully it is work that you find joy in. Why did I just have the head going off like that? I want to do something else with this. Okay. Come along here. The head pops up, and then it's going to look over like that. Keyframe. There's nothing joyful about copywriting, but the fruits of my labor are satisfying. Copywriting. Oh, interesting. I am not very good with trying to figure that stuff out. Although I really do need to get into doing research about that. There was a guy that I met. He was an artist who spent a whole lot of time copywriting his material. And he found out the hard way that a lot of people had, well, let's just say they found some creative ways to ensure that they could sue people at a moment's notice for anything. He was submitting cards, playing cards that had artwork on it. And the copyright system was so screwy in the early 2000s that he had to verify that the pose was different than any other character. So it'd be something where there would be, for him, it was like he held up a card that had a flamingo on it, and that was the example that he had. It showed the flamingo with its head looking off to the side. Well, he found out that there was a iteration of that where it was looking to the other side, and people, the copyright office told him, like, hey, you can't do that. Now, I think that maybe he was a bit paranoid, because I've yet to actually see people get sued for something like that. Especially when it's original stuff. You can't copyright a pose. But that's how much effort he was putting into that. You gotta watch your stream soul working, which is great. Well, hopefully it is entertaining enough to help the dull process to kind of go by a little bit faster. You know, that reminds me. When I was working at Amazon, this was 2013 to 2014, if I remember right. It was dull. I thought for certain after working at Amazon I was going to come away muscular, athletic, because there was so much manual labor that went into it. What I didn't know, which I learned the hard way, is that type of labor is designed to break you. And after the first month, I was getting stronger. After the second month, it stopped. That shocked me. And I went back and I was talking with people I was staying with. They were family friends, and I said, I don't get it. I thought for certain I would be getting stronger through all this, and I've only gotten weaker. And after 6 months, I was so weak. I was so weak and broken that compared to the pre-Amazon months, I was stronger back then than after all that exercise over all those months. It took me a full year to recover. That's how long some of the injuries took to finally heal. It's interesting to realize that sometimes you can work yourself so much that you don't actually get any gains. And there are people in this world that find it very very appealing to try and make sure that you don't have the ability to recover. And that part, I didn't realize there could actually be people that would think that way. But there are. And when I was at Amazon, their mentality is that, well, you're only here for a short time. We don't care about what happens to you physically. And so there were people that would show up to work literally with a cast. This actually happened. There's this woman that showed up to work. She was late by 10 minutes. And her arm was broken. Cast was on, everything. And she said, I broke my arm, had to go to the doctor. I'm here now. And they looked at her and said, well, it better not slow you down any. There's another guy. he found out that his home was on fire. And so he left work early in order to go back and help out his family. He got back to work and they said, we're doxing your pay. It was so insulting. Another person, tornado appeared in the area, and they wanted to go get their kids from school because their home was in the path of these tornadoes. Their school was in the path of the tornadoes. And the company said, hey, if you leave, you're going to be fired. And the person left, and I don't know what happened to them, but I never did see them again. So I can only assume. That's right, Twitch. I'm talking badly about Amazon again. That's true to me. I found myself becoming cynical to the point I realized I didn't have people around me anymore. That's the wake-up call for me when what I'm doing is wrong. Isn't emergency leave not allowed? Not at Amazon. Not at Amazon. They have... I had the ability to use 2 days of leave over a 6-month span. 2 days. And they made sure that you would not be able to accumulate leave and keep it. Now, I had a friend that was a lawyer, and I asked him, is this possible? Can they do this? And he said, sadly, yes. Because there are workarounds for it, depending on the state that you're in, depending on the contract, and especially if you signed it away at the start. Well, guess what happens when you are signing up for employment there? Surprise, surprise. You cannot use more than, I believe they had, what was it, between 7 and 10 sick leave days. And you technically got one, if I remember right, it was 1 full week's worth of leave for 6 months, of which you could only use 2 of them. The reason why is because they blacked out your leave. Once you hit the month of, September, you could not use leave again. Not until, February. Same thing for the summer. From May to July, they had more blackout stuff. Now, as I understand, they've gotten rid of a lot of those rules. They got caught and they got in trouble. Kind of like what happened with Disney when they were firing all their staff and replacing them with immigrants. And they got punished by the state of Florida. And they're like, oh, we didn't know. Oh, we're sorry. So you're going to hire all your people back? Oh, no. They're already gone. What? Companies. Mr. Bezos needs needing a new mansion. Yeah. No, most likely a yacht, because they don't have the legal problems that can happen on yacht that would happen on property versus a yacht. You want to know what somebody's going to be like? Give them money and watch if they use it wisely or if they use it cruelly. They need people working through Halloween to Christmas. Yeah, well, actually before then, because, yeah, it's all in preparation for that stuff. I'm guessing that's what happened when you put the sales guy manager. That's what happens when you become so disconnected from the lower classes that you start to treat them like animals. One day, I went into work and found I showed up within the time range when you could show up, and I kind of waited. Probably I showed up a little later than I should have on the majority of the time, but I also would stay a little bit later, and it's something that's always been a hard thing for me. To show up to a place early in the day is always difficult, but I always try to make sure that people get their money's worth out of my work. So I show up to work, and I actually got onto the wall of Employee of the Month, which turns out they don't actually put a lot of effort into that. It turns out it's all just kind of a joke to begin with. But I showed up to work, and there was a guy who was that I showed up, and something terrible had happened. I don't really remember. I didn't listen in as much as I probably should have until it was a little too late. Suddenly the guy started sobbing, and full-grown guy weeping uncontrollably. I don't know what it was, but I know that it was something that had been eating away at him for a long time, and he finally broke. Now, if you're a leader and one of your employees has an emotional breakdown, there's a couple of different ways you can approach it. You can try and appease it, or you can try and criticize and shame. Well, Amazon took the opportunity to criticize and shame, fired the guy on the spot, and what's more, mocked him in as they basically dragged him off. Now, not everyone's going to be justified in having an emotional breakdown, but I can say I knew a lot of people that they finally had it. They broke when they were working at Amazon. And by the way, this is why I don't buy from Amazon ever. I got badly burned by them, and so I became one of the people least likely to ever buy from them. So the guy was taken away, and all I know is it had something to do with his family. That's all I know, and that he was unable to go and help them. Well, Amazon manager used that as an opportunity to remind all the employees that they need to be more grateful to Amazon for being willing to hire them. And people like that are trouble and trying to sabotage the entire company, trying to sabotage our careers. By the way, Amazon also promised opportunity for better careers, and that never happened. Fancy that. Promising one thing just to keep people happy, only to surprise them later on and say, nope, sorry. Well, actually, not even sorry. We were lying the whole time, which, by the way, that's what Disney did to me. And that's a story for another time. But it was something where I remember very distinctly the realization that you are viewed worse than cattle in some ways. For me, at my workplace, it's the time of year for the radio company to fire people because of AI. Oh no. And they don't want to pay people bonuses. I hate AI. They screwed the metrics so bad that an agent who was who had tenuity failed the metrics. I was laughing while the new guys are panicking. I'm at the position of power where I could bypass some of the protocols. So to me, I'm just staring at my bosses. I'm just staring at my bosses going to fire me. I dare you. If they told that to me, I would have made a Facebook post about it and looked for a new job. You know, there are a lot of people that are in a tough bind because of all this AI stuff. Interestingly enough, there's a lot of people now that are starting to realize they fired people a little too quickly. Isn't it just like a company? They're like, we need profits. And they don't realize, oh, dang, if we want profit so much, what's to keep the customer from saying, hey, we want a good deal more than anything? And then they start to turn on the company. A bad reputation is something a lot of companies do not know how to deal with. Hollywood's a good example. What, you don't like what your audience is saying? Criticize them, condemn them, tell them they're a bunch of evil people for having an opinion. That's not how you win friends and influence people. That's how you lose business. And that goes for big companies like Amazon too. By the way, when I was I have seen a lot of people starting to do job hunting, and not a lot of them are panning out. There's so many people in positions of power that were like, hey, let's invest heavy into AI. And now a lot of the job opportunities are so hard to really make work. And I feel very sorry for the people that are just getting started in the career field. That's a really bad place for them to be in. It was tough when I was getting started. And I remember when people were saying, hey, you need this much credentials. And I realized that my school did not give me any credentials, and I had to actually rely upon side projects to basically create credentials. That would not have turned out very well if I had actually obeyed the school and worked solely on my classes. If I had worked on all my classes to get A's, I would not have gotten hired. That's sobering. That was back in 2012, 2013 that I graduated. Nowadays, it's gotten so much worse. Duck's face is good. It's not going to be the full duck. It's going to be just the body. We're not going to do the wings or anything. It's designed to be a quick project, and I've spent too much time trying to model that face and get it refined. Actually, just duplicate this and move it to the far side. Sure is tough right now to try and find work. I wonder how long that's going to be until companies are like, okay, we've messed this up horribly. Or is this the new norm? Are people now going to say, well, there's no point in trying to pretend anymore. Let's just lean into this stuff all the way and not give a care about human beings. Thankfully, I'm at a place where I don't have to worry about AI taking over. But I tell you what, there was a lot of arguments that were kind of starting. A lot of people that were leaning heavy into AI. And there's a lot of freelance stuff that I've missed out on because people wanted to go with AI. when I was just getting started, I had to I had to compete against people overseas, and I could not afford to work for the prices that they could afford. Some people could do a project that would have taken me $400 as a student, so I was already be taking a massive cut, and they could do it for $5. Now AI has just made it so much worse. Governments are actually terrified of AI. A pew pew is not that far from an investment opportunity if I'm that desperate for a job. It's bound to happen if you make the middle class disappear. Like, where do they expect people to get the money to eat, sleep, and live in general? Yeah. I have had arguments upon arguments with people. On my social media, I put out in the open that I'm an avid AI hater. I put that out there when AI first got introduced. When I first heard that it was on the scene, I was like, okay, that's it, going completely anti-AI. And I had a lot of people that were like, well, you should give AI a try. Don't be so harsh about it. Don't just assume that you know like how this is going to turn out. Give it a shot. Give it a try. Taste the Kool-Aid. And I was like, no, fine, I'll try it. I'll try it just to prove that it is bad. And I tried it just a little bit. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is worse than I thought. And so I've been adamantly trying to help warn people against it. And people are not catching on. There are a lot of people. I think that if you want AI to work, if you're desperate for kind of your opportunity to shine, AI is the promised land for you. And you will do whatever it takes to be able to use it. Oh, I can finally now write that book I've always wanted to do. Oh, now I can finally make that game I've always wanted to make. It's like, yeah, sure. Everyone else can too. Why do they need you? We are made to labor on this earth. We can't escape that. We can't escape it. The only thing we can do is embrace the labor. Sure, some years work will be more boring than others. Other years it will be more fun than others. But you have to be willing to put in the effort. And automation is not the way to go. You can automate a lot of things. You can be able to automate a car. Oh, it's replaced the horses. Hey, we just need to figure out how to overcome this problem, just like the horse and the buggy. The horse was being killed in order to make way for the automobile. Do you really want to make that argument, people? Oh, well, it's just like the sewing machine. Yeah, the sewing machine changed everything. The sewing machine was a replacement for a motion of the hand. It didn't replace the brain that was utilized. Even so, it didn't make things necessarily better. There's a lot of reason to say that we should go back to hand-making stuff. So, when I see all these people online trying to make the arguments for AI, it's like, folks, you are incredibly short-sighted. This AI is promising to harm you, and you're gladly accepting it. You're like, yes, please, ruin our lives. We can't wait. Oh, look, speaking of automation, look, there is cheap viewers on, let's see here. Come on. Let me select this. Fine, let me do this. Stream boo. Okay, we're going to ban that word. Term to block. Stream boo. Haha, AI, you have been had. Block that. By the way, some of that automated stuff was horrible. Hi, bud. Automation is only great if it works for everybody. If it doesn't, oh boy, yeah. When everyone gets hungry, they're going to say, oh, well, you just need to work harder, improve. Just go back to college. That'll fix it. No, it won't. No, it will not. Show some mercy. Bye, bot. It's so easy to condemn somebody and just to cast them aside. It is so very hard to show them mercy, especially if they're lesser than you. And all these companies, they love this idea that they'll be able to just basically remove all the lower class people that are causing so much irritation, honestly. You know, the poor will always be with us. You can't get rid of it, rich people. And there are consequences, eternal consequences for stuff like that. Sure, the rich people may not believe it, but it's a comfort for those of us who are in the middle or lower classes, because it means that there will still be justice, even if we don't get to see it here in this life. Okay, so we got the duck. Let's sculpt this area here. What do I want to do with this here? I want to, we're not adding wings. We're just going to create the bulge of where the wings would be on the back. Yeah, it's something simple like that. A little bit of a fold. There we go. By the way, this hurts me to not want to do this, but that's what the Blender Challenge is about. It's about trying to get better and get faster. Even if this becomes frustrating. It's not a fault of their own, as they also are guided by the invisible hand. Rich people only see pie charts, percentages, statistics. Though understanding the game allows me to mess with them a bit. Like doing only one client and making them satisfied and getting a 100% rating. Among the sea of faces, I'm the statistic who happens to get 100. I remember getting a chance to see students who wanted so desperately to become a 1%er. Interestingly enough, none of them ever became a 1%er. They all wanted to, though. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna become the rich people. We're living in Dubai and doing all this stuff." It's bad if I'm copying. There was a guy who was talking to me about how his dream was to become a resident of Dubai. Now, it doesn't take an expert to find out that a lot of the people that live in Dubai are incredibly they're either suffering or they are delusional in some ways because they don't see it. Now, there are good parts of Dubai. I am going to say that. I know there are good parts, but there's a lot of dangerous parts too. The biggest danger, though, is excess. If it's really easy to live in excess. Yeah, there's no middle class in Dubai. Yeah, there's upper class, and then there's slave. Well, so my friend wanted so badly to go there because he thought somehow he could become rich and live on a yacht somewhere and get to have all the nice things in life. Enjoy now, suffer later. And he was certain that there was only good things to be had. He still wants that, but he is nowhere close to actually getting it. In fact, I would say he is about as far as he could get from ever getting that stuff. He missed out. And he missed out because it is closed off. You're not going to be able to get it if you're not permitted to get it. And get-rich-quick schemes never work. I mentioned I had a friend who got ruined shortly after college. I won't go through his whole backstory again, but he was somebody that got tricked by people that wanted to offer him the chance to get rich quick. And he's a pauper now. And he has no ability to recover because he sabotaged himself. Get rich quick only makes the person who's at the top rich. Everyone else, absolutely everyone else, has to pay something. Alright, so now let's add in the bones for this critter. Back here to modeling. They don't even have working sewers. Yeah. Yep. It is a messed up place. There's some horrible, horrible things that happen there. And it's pretty easy if you're at the top to look the other way. But oh, that guilt feeling. Ooh, that doesn't make me feel very nice. I'm just gonna forget that stuff. I mean, what's the point in allowing myself to be so overcome with this guilty feeling? Let me just go about and my normal day and hunting after people on Instagram, you know if you know, and doing all these horrible atrocities, funding criminal organizations because it makes me rich on the side. Stealing people's passports so they can't escape. It doesn't make you feel good to have to pay attention to the struggles of the world. But you know, it makes your conscience a lot more clear. And I dare say, we need more people that are willing to kind of look around and say, you know what? We need to do what's right regardless. We shouldn't be trying to make this business deal if it's somehow going to require us to compromise our morals. But there's a lot of people, they think that somehow, some way, they need to be able to have the good stuff. And that means compromises need to happen. You can't make omelets without breaking eggs or something like that. What happens when those eggs are people? The only way to get rich is through hard work or seeing an opportunity nobody did and doing your research to make it work. Almost. I have ideas beyond ideas, but you know what? It's not made me any money. There's some things where I have an idea, and I find out that somebody created it already. And when I look back in my notes, I realize that I would have been the first. Or at least, possibly the first. Hard work can get you so far. A lot of things require a lot of capital. It also requires the ability to get investors. I have no investors. If I have ideas that I think, you know what, it'd be really neat to go and do this. I have maybe the ability to get maybe $5,000, $10,000 max for some projects. A lot of projects, if you really want them to succeed, you have to pay a minimum of like $50,000, $100,000. And that's the part that not a lot of people consider. There's a guy that I did a commercial for. They were a unique group. Both of them were up and coming innovators. They had all these neat ideas. And what was interesting about it, though, is that a lot of their ideas were struggling to get traction. You familiar with the program Monday.com or something along the likes? Schedulers or whatnot. There's a lot of them these days. I got to see somebody making an early version of that. It was with a company that no longer exists. They got out advertised. I did the advertisement for them. That's how I know about their product. And their tool was very, very similar in many ways. And after I dialogued with them about it, I was like, hey, you know, that you could go into this direction. You can go into that direction. And they had the innovation. They had the ideas. They had the programming skills. But they didn't have one thing. And that was name recognition. They were nobodies in Ohio. And they got beat out. Even though they were about 7 years ahead of everyone else. I think that was the amount of time. Maybe 5. We'll say 5. 5 years ahead of everyone else. I mean, it's weird, like rich people come up with the most dumb ideas to things to make themselves look upstanding to other people. Like, bro, you don't have to do that. I think of them as like super bored. Mark Zuckerberg cosplayed as a fighter. For a while, Elon Musk pretended to be a pro gamer. Reminds me of the feud with Disney versus Max Fleischer. Max Fleischer, huh? I think that's how you say it. Rest in peace, Max. You tried your best. You know, there's something to be said for that, though, when you mentioned about being super bored. You know, when Elon Musk took over X, he had this statement that he said that, hey, no one else can make this work. I'm just going to buy it. He acted like he was being innovative. No one else can do it. I'm the only one who can pull it off. There were several companies trying to make ends meet. You remember Parler? Parler was the first real competitor to social media that actually offered a wider range of discussion. They got butchered by all the companies trying to take him down. That's the thing that I've learned the hard way over the last couple of years, is that you can have an idea. There's no guarantee that idea is going to work. It's infuriating to me, actually. Because I think, how is it that you can actually try and make things successful? How can you, when there are people whose sole mission in life is to cut you off at the knees? Some people whose only desire is to wait for somebody else to have an idea so they can steal it. When I was working at Disney, they had us all sign a document that if we drew anything while we were employed by Disney, if we created any character, any video, if we did a comic, wrote a book, Disney had the legal ability to seize it. I read through the document. I asked them, how can you do this? They didn't respond to that. They were just like, hey, you sign it or you don't. It's like, well, not much I can do about it. So you sign it, even though you don't agree with it. Corrupt people are willing to do anything in order to get ahead. And that is something I will never truly be able to comprehend, because that's not the sort of person I am. I'm not going to be trying to cut people off at the knees and say, hey, you know what? I sense that you might have an idea. I'm going to steal it from you. I could do that. There's a guy that made a really neat idea that I want to be able to animate. But I can't remember the guy's name, and I don't want to steal it. I remember the short, and I was like, hey, I want to be able to make that short, but not until I get permission from that guy. And so until I can remember what his name is, I can't do it. That's the sort of person I am. It's not the sort of person, that is not the sort of person most companies are. You know, when I was at Disney, there was I made a mistake. I made a big mistake. I was creative. No, I'm not saying that like, oh, I was creative, oh, terrible thing. There's actually a reason to say that, no, I was in the wrong. Because I was trying to be productive during a time when there were not employees around. And so I was trying to create artistic stuff because I saw other employees doing it, and people were like, oh, it's a magical event, and they all loved it. Oh, somebody drew a picture of Doofenshmirtz. Oh, somebody drew a picture of Mickey. Oh, somebody did a little airplane, and they got excited about it. And we were told, make a magical moment for people. So I went out and I did that. One day the manager showed up with the stuff in the bag, and he was like, did you make this stuff? Yes, because another manager said it was a good thing. He would have thought I stole from the company with the explosion he had. He was not happy with it. That's a company that doesn't care about their image, about their legacy. I drew a picture of a cat, like an African cat, that I thought, hey, you know, this would fit with a sort of a Disney sort of flair. And I thought for certain it could be a good character. And I remembered, like, hey, Disney can take your ideas. And here he was tearing the thing up. And I thought it was one of my best pieces of artwork. Destroyed. I learned at that point that Disney didn't want employees. They didn't want creative minds. They wanted slaves. They wanted people to do something just as they wanted. And that's the part about this world that is infuriating to me. How can you be so scared of competition that you want to cut it off at the knees? You want to be able to stop other people from having an idea. And that's why I wanted to start making my own stuff. Honestly, that was the big thing. I finally backed up and I was like, okay, I'm going to try and participate with somebody else. I'm going to do my best to try and work for a business and try and find a way to get some of my ideas out there by working on their ideas instead. I finally said I was going to do that because nothing ever happened. And only for the person who I was working with to have the same sort of reaction as Disney. You can have an idea, but if it threatens somebody else in any way, shape, or form, well, you better be prepared for what comes next. Oh my. That's a goofy one, Inertia. One day, I want to be able to create projects that have the same level of value that I kind of always assumed was going to be that was going to be done by places like Disney, places like DreamWorks or whatnot. I've given up trying to do things on as a company man. I'm trying to figure stuff out on my own. And it's not easy going. It's easier when all the tools are set up beforehand. But it's very tough to try and go through a project for somebody else and expect them to have the same level of care as you have. All they care about is money. Well, most businessmen, that's how they get to that point. And I don't care about money. Honestly, I care about impact. And if there's impact, I get happy with that. I get excited. If there is no impact to the stuff that you do, it becomes discouraging. You're like, well, what's the point of it all? I'm dying laughing when people fueled by spite make two monsters fight on Twitter. Yeah. They made a design about copyright infringement and a blatant use of Mickey Mouse, and were proud of infringing. The artist told their fans to type in the comments to say, "I want this on a shirt," to trigger the bots to put it on a print-on-demand site. Oh my goodness. I know what you're referring to. Yeah. Not that one in particular, but I know about that process. Clever. It is absolutely fascinating to me, the the lack of ethics some of these companies have. Disney found out that there was a company, a preschool in Australia that had a picture of Mickey Mouse on their walls. A preschool in Australia, hand painted by somebody. Disney found out about it and sued them into shutting down. Imagine that. Great and glorious Mickey Mouse deciding that, well, they need to stop the big bad preschool from having Mickey Mouse on their wall. Not realizing that the kids are probably going to get a fascination with Mickey Mouse because they put it on the wall. Isn't that just dumb? Disney? People have been raised off of Mickey Mouse for generations, and you think that somehow it's the smart thing to do to demonize a little preschool? Do you think those parents are ever going to let their kids see Mickey Mouse again? Idiots. Absolute idiots. Oh, but we gotta protect the brand. If that's protecting the brand, you guys missed the whole concept of what it means to have fans. So they sued him into bankruptcy, and they never recovered. Well, there's other people that had the same sort of thing, and Disney just goes after them in a vengeful spirit. And their lawyers are like, look, we've earned you so much money, Disney. Look, we've justified our pay. You've proven that you're bounty hunters. You have no problem harming another. That doesn't mean that you're good. But Disney likes to think that somehow they're doing wonderful, wonderful things. We're helping to protect people. Yeah, keep telling yourself that, Disney. At the back end of that, I wonder how many fires that triggered on businesses. Yeah, yep, indeed. Again, that's a result of putting Jeff from sales to do the company's decision making. Hey, what do you got problems with, Jeff? The evil Jeff. I don't know. I just realized your name is Jeff too. Yeah, okay. A little too late there. I see how it is. It is. Golly. Imagine how cold some people must be to like justify their salaries by saying, hey, we're going to go after everybody who's just a common man. But we're going to overlook massive copyright infringements that other companies do. This is the hardest part of any project, is trying to figure out how to smooth out the weight paints. Most people hate weight painting, and I don't blame them. It's a very obnoxious thing, and it's not very, it's not easy to do. And in Blender, it's really bad. But there are other programs that were worse in the past, and so thankfully a lot of companies are starting to realize how to do good weight painting. And their tools have gotten more refined, it's getting easier, and the best part is the automatic weight painting. It has gotten wonderful. It's not quite perfect, but it's pretty darn close. What is that rainbow thing? Looks like infrared. This right here is weight painting. So if you're trying to figure out what the weight paint, well, if you're trying to figure out what the weight of the bones are going to be. So like right now, this is the neck bone. This is showing the amount of strength that bone has over the region. When you come to something like this, you'll notice how it is like, it's folding in on itself. Because of that, you have to come into weight painting and try and figure out what's causing that. And right here it looks like it's because this needs to be added in, and that will probably help it. Versus a spine, which probably needs to have more strength around it like this. Weight painting is routinely one of the most hated processes of the animation pipeline. But there is one that is even more despised, and that is the process of UV unwrapping. Now, thankfully, I don't have to worry about UV unwrapping yet, but it is something where a lot of people, when they get to this point where they just want to use an automated tool, just because it makes it so much easier for them. And I need to actually add some more edge loops because that area just was not smooth enough. Okay, so now that's a lot better. Still doing something weird with that. Oh, I know what's going on. I think. Yeah, okay. Simplify was on. That was the problem. You're making me interested in 3D art. Hey, 3D art is a lot of fun to do. Some people are like, oh, 3D art's like just very similar to the process of doing AI. I'm like, no, not even. This is the most labor-intensive form of art you can probably do, just because everything can be manipulated. And so then you become so nitpicky over it. Now, you can do it a lot faster than a lot of other mediums, but there's the ability to become obsessive over this stuff. Like right here, notice how this is kind of having a weird bit of deforming. I'm going to come in here and duplicate this bone and move it like this. And this is going to be part of the wing here. And the reason why this is going to be here is because the wing still has some sort of form. And by doing this, it helps to strengthen this region. I want to rename this bone, call this wing. Nope. Wing left. Now I got into 3D art early on. I got to work with a program called TrueSpace. TrueSpace was known for actually being utilized with Star Wars. Now I don't know for how much of it, but TrueSpace was one of the very first commercial 3D softwares. It was pure garbage. Absolutely terrible software. But you can see where a lot of the animation traditions kind of came from because of that tool. Save. Wait, paint. And now I want to grab, let's see here, add in wing 1 and wing 2. This is armature. There's a lot of neat projects that I've worked on that incorporated 3D animation. And dagnabbit. This is the one part that I do get quite confused on. All right, let's see here. What is the... Let me double check what this tool is here. Oh no, I knew I messed something up. Okay, so grab this. Grab that and grab that. Now it says go to waypaint. Select the newly added bones. Wait. Maybe I have to select this one right here. Right in here. Okay, let's copy this right here and search for this. I'm making a lot of progress since yesterday. I'm starting to regain fundamentals and draw from memory. I probably need to start the portfolio as well instead of naming everything Untitled Mess. Insert number here. You know what? I did that a lot when I was growing up. I messed up I had somebody criticize my naming convention to the point where they just said, "You have the worst naming convention I've ever seen." Now I have a very complex, sophisticated naming system, and it's not perfect, but at least it's far more complex than what a lot of people have. I learned that the hard way. Ridicule is sometimes a good thing. Sometimes it is very bad, though. Come on, where is this? How to fix heat weight maps for new bones. Well, that looks like something I'm going to have to figure out another time. So I'm going to close that part out because this is about trying to be quicker. So it's going to be faster just to apply that with a new weight map. Now it should theoretically maintain some of the old stuff, I would think. He has the wings in there. That's good. But what about the neck, the top bill? Yeah, okay. There's some of it that has to be redone. That is perfectly acceptable. Come in here and do that. And then he will be just about ready to put into his position for the animation. By the way, I'll have to show the character that I did the other day for a gimmick. It was a way to learn and get better at the process. And sometimes you do need projects like that. Ones that serve no other purpose other than to be a way to prove your skills, and especially if you don't really have an audience to be able to look at it, you can do it for an audience that is brand new and kind of show them what it's like and see them get a laugh out of it. And so I did that just in order to practice something brand new, and it helped out tremendously. Okay, so now we got this. Once again, that's good. The fold's not perfect, but then again, this is a simple animation. It's not supposed to be perfect. That said, I can still refine this a little bit. By the way, I can definitely say that I'm not a fan of weight painting solutions. I'm a much bigger fan of a process called bone meshing. And that process incorporates a whole lot more bones and helps out just by making it a lot more automated. I'm just softening this up a little bit so that way it's not so sharp. What the heck? Why is he looking like... Oh, yeah, that's it. I had it in the wrong order. My bad. By the way, one of the things that one of the things we have done in the past is trying to give people the opportunity to showcase their work. So, by the way, this goes for anybody. If somebody has something you want to showcase your work, it is completely acceptable to have that stuff. The one thing that we have a problem with are people that are fly-by-nights that come in just to share work only to turn around and leave. That's something where I'm really not happy when I see something like that. So one of the ways that you can share work and have the ability to share it whenever is by being a part of the Discord. Once in there, you have the ability to share your work, and other people that are artists can be able to interact with it. We do have quite a few artists in our Discord. We are getting another Discord together that is going to be for the Castercraft side, but there is one for the Alaska Man Jeff side. That one was made a couple years ago, and so was the Castercraft one, but the reason for Castercraft had not quite begun, and so thus it never quite materialized. It is going to become one where the Blender Challenge will be associated with that server, and the ability to share art will also be on that area too. It just won't be nearly as much as the other one. When I see the view counter to 2, I'm like, this is either a different person or a bot. Yep. Right now we have a total of 6 people across the different platforms, of which I have learned about 3 of them are guaranteed to be bots. Well, I say guaranteed. That's kind of loose to say. Now, we do have some lurkers. I do know that. I don't know who they are. I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, we have some lurkers that do not speak. I have no idea who they are. Some people have been around for a long time because there's a regularity with it. There was one guy who spoke up a couple years ago. He had been lurking for like 3 months before he finally said anything. And then I never saw him again. But apparently he was still lurking. It's kind of interesting to think about. These are not all that exciting of streams. So when... Aha! I knew it would pull someone out of the woodworks. BR Jason says, I'm a bot. Somehow I had the sneaking suspicion that there was a BR Jason out there. You've been caught, sir. I mean, you've been caught, bot. Anyway, hope you're doing well, BR Jason. But it is things like that, where we do have quite a few people that are lurkers. And one of the things that's one of the reasons why I ask, hey, folks, just like the stream. That's all I like, or dislike the stream. That's all I ask for. Because that way I know at least if people find any sort of interest in this stuff. I'm not someone who's going to say, like, comment, share, subscribe. That's kind of pointless and honestly makes some bitterness in some people. So I'm not going to be saying things like that. Mostly because I don't like it when I hear stuff like that. So anyway, I've been listening and working indeed. Hope your work has been going well, BR Jason. There's another guy that was lurking some time back. He has not been around for a long time. And I don't know if we'll probably ever see him again. But he was a friend that I don't know what's going on in his life. All I know is that he's been having kind of a rough go of it. There's many types of people that are on the internet, and a lot of people, not most, but a lot of people are people that are having to deal with big struggles, and they don't know where else to kind of go. And for them, coming to streams is therapeutic. It allows them to feel like they have a place where they can be recognized, but some people don't like that idea. This guy that is the point of the story is one of those people. He was somebody who had a lot of challenges that he was going through, and he just didn't want to be he didn't want to be seen or heard. I felt discouraged when I found out that he had been there the whole time, because I didn't realize what he had been going through. It wasn't until later on that I heard from a friend of both of ours that what his story was. That's my only real concern when I am streaming, because I know that there are some people that are in that category, and you never know. You never know, and sometimes you find out years later, and you're like, dang, if only I had known. Of course, it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to know how to fix things, but yeah. Anyway. It's okay, PR Jason. I failed the captcha too. Oh, golly. Okay, so now that, I'm going to copy this on over. And we have a duck. And it's a simple duck, but it does the job. Now, technically, I would want to try and have more joints for the neck. But we're going to kind of cheat this a little. Well, actually, wait a minute. Nope, we are going to have it. We're just going to do a subdivide. And now, that should technically be fairly easy to fix. I think. If not, we'll undo. Nope, it's not going to be. Okay, so we're just going to come over here. And soften it. That's what we'll do. That looks much better. Kind of has a bit of a swan look there. Jack's hardworking people confirmed. There's truth in that. We've had a lot of people that are fairly hard-working folks. Does not tend to be flaky people in this neck of the woods, thankfully. Oh, that's the wrong item here. Here we go. It's like, what is going on with that? Strength 100, weight 0. There we go. Much better. Get rid of all that. And now you can add in just the stuff of the jaw. This is the first time in a long time I've done weight painting to this level. Everything else has been bone cages. And it's good to practice this stuff because weight painting is a very big part of the animation process. And I have been lax on it. Okay, so got that. Go to here, and now let us blur the edges here. Okay, blur like that, blur like that. Good. Now, wonderful. Got a duck. But there's one problem. Duck needs to have a black mouth. And I think I can get away with it by doing a little bit of this. Maybe. Yeah, it's not bad looking. I mean, it does have a few problems, but that can be solved with an extra couple of edge loops. There we go. Duck. If you had a penny for every person who listens to your streams while working, you have like two pennies. Just don't say it happened twice. How could we be flaky? Jeff would send us a stern look, and his terror bears would have whooped us into shape. Hey, you got to beware of those terror bears. By the way, I missed out on the opportunity to see the terror bears of the far north. There I was, in Barrow, Alaska, just last month. I went up and ate some pickled whale meat. Okay, it wasn't pickled. It was actually sashimi, which is probably one of the reasons why it's so problematic. Just a little tiny piece. And it caused my stomach to churn. And I felt ill. I was sick for 48 hours. During that process of me being sick on the bed, the team came back and said, "Whoa, you won't believe it! We saw so many polar bear!" Lo and behold, while I was sick, they had seen a dozen polar bear. And I could not take my big fancy camera out to get the photos. The one critter I really wanted to see, and I missed out on it. Shame. That's weird because I heard terror bears can smell Japanese food from 12 miles away. They would have come to you. Oh, golly. A Pizzly. A polar bear grizzly hybrid. Ooh. For those that have not seen a critter like this, that would be this critter right there. Isn't he cute and fluffy? There's been mythological sightings of polar bear grizzly hybrids. Well, you know. There's been a couple. And there's also been some other sightings up here in Alaska. Some bears that make you wonder if the polar bear is in fact the biggest bear or not. There's a bear out there that was shot by some lumberjacks in Kenai. They took a photo of it and sent it to the newspaper. The thing was gigantic. No idea how big that thing was. They didn't get a full picture. It was hard. All I remember him holding up the paw of this bear, and it spanned shoulder to shoulder. By the way, there are people who are travelers across the North American territory, and they also claim to have found something like that. But we don't know what it was. Well, now it raises some questions. We don't know what happened to that bear. The Smithsonian came out and collected the bear's remains and took it back east. We have yet to hear, one way or the other, what the genetic testing came back with. I have my theories. And of those theories, you can look forward to kind of hearing one of those in when a certain story gets finished, inspired by rolling chairs, but it's actually going to be based upon something else. So it's going to be an interesting story. Ursa Major, yes, indeed. Imagine being a shapeshifter and you get for being the base bear that lived. Golly. Cheers, yes, indeed. I haven't seen him in a while. Wonder what he's up to. Must have been a bad day, yeah. You never know. There are mysteries everywhere in this world. And we'd be foolish to believe that we understand everything that there is. I've learned that there are mysteries that are always going to be there. You're never going to... That was weird. Light cut out on me. But anyway, mysteries are going to abound in this world. And you're not going to be able to know for certain the truth behind everything. Some things are going to remain a mystery for the entirety of history. And sometimes a thing comes about that, that is going to be all the more confusing to people. Sometimes knowing the truth does not necessarily mean that you truly understand. Sometimes it just makes you more confused. Bless your child. But I wonder, for some of these mysteries out there, I wonder how many people actually know the truth of something, but they're scared to actually acknowledge it. By the way, for those that are curious, I'm going to be joining a Dadman stream sometime. What day is it that it's going to be? I'm trying to remember. 14th. 14th of this month, I'm going to be on a Dadman stream, and we're going to be talking Bigfoot. Now, I talked Bigfoot recently on the stream with after the weekend. So it's not like we're going to be covering anything new. So if you've heard the story before, then yeah, it's going to be a repeat. But there are a lot of people who haven't heard some of the stories. And so that is going to be an opportunity for them to actually get a chance to hear and kind of be left to wonder. Hopefully it is something that causes people to really think. True magic is misunderstood science, after all. Well, there's actually some other things out there as well. And there's something else that goes on in the world. And we don't quite fully, I don't think we're meant to truly understand it. Not in this life, at least. I've heard some fascinating stories from people who have, well, just a second here. Okay, let's add in. Wait. There's a guy that I got to listen to up here in Alaska. He wrote a book called Jesus and the Eskimos, and he had a very, very interesting story to tell. And maybe one day I probably need to read the book and give like an in-depth analysis of it, because it was fascinating to get to hear this guy speak. Now, I think he's passed since then, but I got to hear him firsthand, and it was a fascinating, absolutely fascinating story that he had to tell. But one of the things that was a takeaway was this idea that there are going to be mysteries that we don't fully understand. And for a lot of people in the native communities, the idea of magic and whatnot was considered kind of normal. It's run of the mill. Everyone understood that there was magic in the world. And so what do you do when somebody comes along who's immune to that magic? And then suddenly, whoa, there's some actually higher power that the magic yields to? Now, it is indeed intriguing to hear the story that he told. And again, I might have to cover that story sometime, just because it was so very fascinating. Dear Jason's now on Rumble as well. Wait, I missed it. What were you looking at? Are the guard wolves acting up? No, they weren't acting up. Instead, my light died on me, and then it came back on. I think it's because we have power problems out here. And so I'm guessing it was just like issues with one of the outlets. That's it, honestly. But it was kind of weird to see that happen. I've not had to make eyes like this before. It's, not liking how it's turning out. By the way, the light up here is starting to fade. We've had very long days for the summer. Well, now we're finally getting to the point where the sun is setting at about 10:30 at night, which means that, darn it, summer is over. Or just about over. It's fading fast. And it won't be long until summer is fully gone. It has not been a very warm summer. There were people, they were posting about how it was like, there were heat waves, and oh, because Alaska's like melting, and people were freaking out about it. I've been up here when Alaska was like super, super hot. This was not a hot year. It was very, very mild. It's kind of a shame that Alaska, it doesn't have a whole lot of time that you can really enjoy summer. And lo and behold, it just kind of, well, it's at that point of where you're just left kind of wishing that it would go on a little bit longer. Okay, you know, I got a better idea how to fix this. Okay, bring this over here. We're duplicating this. And we're going to isolate this. There we go. Now we're going to edit this. Look at it from above. Okay, clear out the rotation. Look at it from above. Yep, that's what I was kind of thinking was happening. There we go. Yeah, I'm so happy it's getting dark earlier. You're all uppity. You're all breaky uppy when you talk. Is everyone else hearing that? Oh. That's it. That's what was going on. That was because I had rendering on. I forgot to turn it off. When I have it like this, it shouldn't be a problem. When I have it on the other one, it causes issues. Anyway, there we go. That's one of the problems of working off of the same PC that you're animating on or modeling. Even if it's a simple project, it can overwhelm your system. Viewport display. Let's get rid of that entirely. For eyeglass. Yep, that should work. Why is it not working? Don't tell me I have to make a proxy of this. Let's go back to here. Uh-oh. What the? Well, phooey. Let us return that to where it's supposed to be. I1. And just delete these up. These ones right here. Let's fix this. I1 and I2. There we go. Outside is literally a grilling pot. I live in Asia, so it's pretty much either storm, earthquake, or infinite summer. That's a wildly different than what we have up here. I do not do well in super hot weather, and I've learned that the hard way. Now, although I will say it, there have been... Oh wow, that's kind of freaky. I know quite a few people who have lived in Asia, and some of them lived in some fascinating locations. One of the more interesting ones was I knew a guy who actually lived in Afghanistan, and he had stories galore. But the place I was at, like I mentioned the other day, was Japan. So I got to be in Japan, and that was a fascinating experience. But there was one day when we were told, hey, you're not allowed to leave the house. We are on a blacklist for weather right now. It is too hot for anybody to be outside. So if you're outside, you get in serious trouble. Not just because you're going to be melting. No, because you're going to be in trouble with the law at that point. They're stuck. The duck is staring into my soul. Yep, it's a pretty freaky duck there. He says, "Come to me, Bia Jason." Okay. It's kind of interesting that there's that ring around it. That's because I have the metallic one on. So there, we're back to matte. There, it's a little bit better. No more freakiness. The other one's good for being able to tell like smoothness of an object. This one's better for being able to like do animations with and be able to pay attention to what's going on. Because we're modeling, that's why I had that one turned on. All right, make sure this is good. Oh, come on. Why is that happening? Delete that, delete that. All right. I didn't want to go about it in this way, but there's no other option. Okay. Duplicate this. Move it right here. We're going to call this I left. Then we're going to symmetrize it. There we go. These two get no deform. Copy to selected. Now we're going to take this and we're going to grab this right here and we're going to copy the transform instead. So this will go much easier. I left. Copy trans. Oh, golly. That's right. I need to clear out the size. And now I can... oh, golly. Just a second. That's the wrong one that I did. Okay. Copy. Oh, come on. Hello. There we go. We want to copy the location of I. Why is I not appearing? Oh, no duh. Copy armature. Oh. What's this? Oh. Why am I forgetting? No, I won't go duck. So the thing about the processing power, it's because of the GPU. Because when you're rendering, you're using the GPU. Well, the GPU is how I broadcast. It's what OBS is utilizing, which is kind of weird. You can play a game and it doesn't affect it, but when you try and render, it freezes everything up. And then that doesn't work. I don't quite understand why that happens, but yeah, that is indeed the case of what's going on. Okay, come on here. Why is this not working? We're copying the armature, and from there should be a bone option. But it is right here. If we grab it from here, no, it's not. Vertex group, that's not the same thing. All right, let's see what's going on here. Blender, object constraint, transform, bone. Copy transform of a bone to an object. Well now, isn't that interesting? For them, it works like normal. For me, not so much. I come over here. I'm following through it. I want to copy the location. Select the object, the armature 1. It is armature 1, right? Right. But wait a minute. Now the bone's appearing. Okay, why did it not show earlier? That's weird. Oh. I see what's going on. Alright, so this is what happened. This duck was given the wrong name. And so I saw armature. I accidentally called the duck armature. And this is going to be Bill. Well, mystery solved. So I can't see the pupil. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a mask. And I'm going to assign that. Come over here. I'm going to create mask and assign. There we go. So that way I can know which way it's supposed to be pointing. Going to clear out its rotation. What the? That's freaky again. Admit it, Jeff, it's because the purple-eyed duck is evil. I will not disagree with you there, BR Jason. It is taking me way too long to try and do this. So obviously the duck is problematic. Maybe not 100% evil, but pretty darn close. All right, there we go. Finally got that squared away. What the? Copy the rotation of the eye. You want to replace that. Uh-huh. Oh, that's what's going on. Oh, I know what's going on. Wow. Here we go. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. I'm so bad at that. Pose. Come back in here. We want to apply rotation. Why is that happening? The eye is supposed to be pointing in the correct direction. It's supposed to be pointing down that way. Thank you very much, Blender. And it is not. You want pose? No? World space to world space. I don't know why that is happening. By the way, this is why this is not like the timed version of the Blender challenge that happens next month. The time one is when you're like up to speed. Right now I am out of practice, and which is one of the reasons why I'm having to go through this a little bit slower. Because things like this, why would that be happening? This isn't like parented to any... Wait a minute. Are you kidding? That explains it. That explains it. Okay, wow. That was humiliating. All better now. Copy location. Copy it of armature. I left. Copy rotation. Wish I could just duplicate that, but I can't. I left. If I knew how to program that, it would make it a lot easier. And I want to add, I believe, 90. Now I believe that should work. Yep. Now it has the ability to look into your soul. And as it looks into your soul, its eye grows wider. It sees all that you do. So now we have the ability to move the eyes independently by doing this method. Oop, my bad. Before we finish up this process and move on to the next part, I'm going to duplicate this, and now I'm going to add this to eye right. Same thing, eye right. Now we have the ability to have him look in two different directions, if so desired, or the better solution is to create another bone. This one is going to be a focus bone. So So we're going to come up here and we're going to snap it to the grid. And we're going to do this right here and do that right there. So I'll rename this eye focus center and change this to eye, my bad, eye focus left and eye focus right. I said eye focus right. There we go. Now by doing this, we grab these two right here and we can be able to parent it to this one right here. Keep offset. And now we have the ability to go back to pose. We're going to drive that with this. This is going to be track 2. And we're going to track it with, it's going to be Y. And Z is going to be up, I believe. Yep, that's it. And this one's going to get the same thing, copy to selected, but instead it's going to be on eye right. There we go. Wonderful. Now we can see everywhere and have the ability to look off to the side. Now there's one more thing that we're going to do here. We're going to copy the scale. And we're doing this all independently because I was thinking initially that maybe there'd be a benefit to doing this, but apply scale. Apply scale. Link object data. Once again, come back in here. Scale. Copy to select. Nope. Nope. Copy to selected. And this one over here gets turned into right. So now, as the duck looks up, it moves up, and in doing so, now we have the ability to have him turn around like this. And then by the way, this is one of the reasons why some people choose to do more, we'll say more disturbing animations out there because it's super, super easy. Anything that is unnatural is easy. And that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of doing this right now, because it kind of shows that point. It is actually kind of interesting because the whole process is relatively simple. If you want things to not be realistic, it's super, super easy. Now, the reason why I do this exaggerated method is because I want to be able to see what's going wrong with this. Right now, there's something holding on to the jaw right there. It's this right here. The lower jaw should not be attached to the top. Now, you can normalize this but I did not go about that process. By doing this very exaggerated method, it gives me the ability to know what is kind of connected to what, and then to compensate as needed. So like right there, we're never going to get it to be that far, but everything now in between will make it a lot easier to do. Let's see here. The other thing we can do is color the interior of the mouth. We don't want it to be black, we just want it to be dark gray. Or slightly fleshy here. Mouth. We're going to remove the saturation, decrease the value, assign, make it rough, just because we don't want it really to stand out or anything like that. There we go. Increase it once more. There we go. Duckman. All right. Well, that's just very appealing. On that note, I'm going to get myself some more water before we move on to the next part, which is actually adding this character to the scene that currently exists. Be right back. You can now look at this terrifying thing in the meantime. Time to change the music up. Angry Birds! Exactly, that's exactly what this is. Greetings there, Bizmaster, how you doing? In the process of making a very simple looking bird. Silly bird. How goes your projects there, Bizmaster? Getting there. Didn't get much time the last couple of weekends, but progress is progressing. Well, that is good to hear. Some weeks that's going to be the case. You can't. Well, it's not guaranteed that things are going to necessarily be successful. That's all you can do is tinker away as best as you can. Want to change this visibility to a bounding box here. Bounds. There we go. Oh, interesting. There's some shadow that's being cast on this bird. From where? Oh, it's because I don't have scene lighting. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave it like that. We'll be fixing the lighting off stream anyway. I saw a duck earlier. Yes, right here we have Bastion about ready to eat a sandwich. How you doing, Bastion? Feeling better, and I was advised to eat bread. Well, that's very fitting for a duck. Hopefully it's dry and stale, just the way you like it. Do you make enough sandwiches for the rest of us, Bastion? Indeed. Well, glad you're feeling better, sir. Feeling ill is never any fun. Well, I take that back. I actually knew somebody who liked feeling ill. And I can't say that's necessarily what a sensible person would ever want, though. bread. Ooh, I know what you had. There was enough bread for everyone here just to make peanut butter and jelly tacos. Ugh. One slice with one side half peanut butter and the other jelly. Ah. Oh, that type of okay, that makes sense. I'm imagining like having this tortilla meat with peanut butter jelly. That'd be interesting flavor. I may have those here. You know, peanut butter and jelly is cheap and affordable. It's kind of interesting to think about the growing up. That was like something everybody ate, and I don't know what happened, but I noticed that our culture doesn't eat those as much. Maybe it's because we have so many new tastes and whatnot. But I remember that was like the go-to for people. Well, my energy is kaput. Indeed, Inertia. Well, if you're heading on out, Inertia, have a pleasant evening, rest well, recharge, and hopefully you are able to attack tomorrow with a burst of energy. May it be a wonderful day of rest as well, if that is indeed what you're going to be taking. Actually, wait a minute. That would mean that it'd be Monday for you, most likely if you're in Asia. So that would be, indeed, attacking tomorrow with a full burst of energy. So anyway, rest well, and we will see you next time, whenever that is. They're already teasing the next season with female Spartans from Halo. Oh, that's interesting. You know, it's weird. Halo was like the game when I was growing up. And it has lost a ton of its popularity. It is quite fascinating to realize just how much the world has changed. And games are a good way to kind of see a bit of that. I'm leaving my PC open here to support. You're very kind. It's a way, in a way, it's sort of lurking. Indeed. Well, much appreciated. All right, right now this is about pacing. So it's not about refining the animation just yet. That's the next part of the process. So now this is a technique that I learned a while back. Except the view is actually asleep. Yeah, that is indeed true. It's a sleep lurk. Alright, so we're gonna put this a child of the armature and put that to upper bill. And we're going to allow for offset. Now that should be the point that we can parent it to. So now we're going to make this one copy the Nope, we're going to copy the transforms of this one, this empty. Stand by a second for that. Apply the scale. Clear. Apply. Okay, come on. Is this linked? Oh, it is. Objects. Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind. I got this. We're just going to set this to child of. And move it like this. And we're going to keyframe this. In some ways, I can feel my skill has improved a lot, and in other ways, it has not. One of the things that I'm not doing well tonight is memorization of some techniques. I have been fumbling a lot, which is one of the reasons why, just like how I draw almost every day now, I need to be animating every day. And that's one of the things I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. Things like this is useful for that, because then it gives me the chance to practice different techniques that typically you don't get a chance to refine. There are some people, they have made full animated films this way, where it's very like low key. I could have done that in the past, and it probably would have made me a lot more successful if I had. But it also would have very likely have locked me into a certain style. Now, I've known people that have gotten locked into a style, and it's very, very hard to break out of. And I did not really think that that was something that could happen, but I have since learned that that is indeed a very real possibility of people in the industry. An example is somebody that I followed on social media for a long time. They had a skill set that was very good, but the longer you watched their content, the more it started to become painfully apparent that a lot of what they did was incapable of changing anytime soon. Their style was locked. Sure, they could make entire books with the same character, no problem, but they couldn't do anything else. My problem is I went the opposite direction. I can't do the same thing over and over. I have no ability for good quality repetition. In fact, I have learned that my skill set is very painful in terms of being able to have that repetition, because if I want to try and do something over and over again and be able to really lean into it, like let's say I wanted to turn this duck into a series, very hard for me to sit down and do it from start to finish if there's not like a reason for it. I could do a bunch of silly animations like this. The duck comes up, grabs a sandwich. Duck comes up and grabs the apple, grabs the drink. I could do that. One animation a day. I could make a lot of money doing that. Well, could have. Not so much anymore, thankfully. I do say thankfully because a lot of people have abused that sort of stuff. That ability for repetition, that's where the money gets made. And that's one of the things that I could not figure out when I was commissioned for stuff. I could do it. I could do the repetition. But eventually, I kind of realized that I had far too many ideas to be locked into one thing or another. And it makes me wonder, if I had gotten a chance to practice repetition when I was younger, would it have gotten easier? While I do think that would indeed have been the case, I also realize there's a benefit to the route that I took. So would I go back and change it? Yeah, in some ways I would, but in other ways, no. Honestly, I think God meant for things to turn out the way that he did. And it may have not made it sensible for me to get like certain types of jobs, for example, but it did make sense for being able to be an innovator. And that I'm grateful for. I'm going to have to call it here for the evening. I got very far on this, but I'm just way out of practice. And so thus, I'm not going to be able to get this all done tonight. But I do want to go over a little bit what just happened during this stream, because this is actually very important if you're trying to get into animating in 3D. This is something that I paid $80 for a course just for me to forget that for this. And lo and behold, I finally remembered it. And it's the process of finding the key poses and animating to that. So what does that mean? Well, at first I was trying to do it based upon motion, upon smoothness, but it was lacking the ability to pace it appropriately and to get the poses to fit. I was spending too much time trying to refine stuff rather than trying to get the main poses in. The next process of this is going to be to smooth out the animation. That's actually going to be one of the fastest parts of this whole thing. But this part right here is actually far more difficult than I was forgetting about that. When we have this smoothed out, then the background's going to get a little bit of a update. Not much. It's just going to be a texture because I just need to get this thing done. We're probably going to do this again tomorrow night just so I can get this finalized, because I need to get this done so next month we can start with a brand new project and it can be far faster. Anyway, we're going to be calling it there. But thanks, folks, for coming by and for giving me some of your time. I hope that you found something of merit during this. Feel free to like or dislike the stream. It would be most appreciative if you would assist me in this. Feel free to comment as you see fit. But just so I know you're flesh and blood and not a bot. Always good to see folks. Even if you just say howdy and that's all. But I realize a lot of people, that's not something they really want to bother with. But just the like or dislike is good enough for me. Let's see if we can raid somebody on the Twitch side, because we actually do have enough people really to justify a raid. Let me see. Well, we do actually have a couple of options. But I want to try and find something that's art related. And right now are the people that are artists that I follow are not currently live. So we're going to give someone brand new a shot. Well, there's a lot of really weird ones out there. I am taking suggestions, but I don't think there's going to be... I don't know if anybody has any places they would like to go. So, we're going to... okay, let's give this a shot. So one of the more frustrating parts of the Twitch side is trying to figure out the raid system, because there's many people to choose from, but there's a lot of places where you're just not certain that that's where you kind of want to take the crew. Man, there's a lot of inappropriate stuff still on Twitch. It's a real shame. There really is something to be said for wholesome content. And I know I don't make really great content, but at least I like to think that it's wholesome. Or at least mostly wholesome. But there's a lot of stuff here. I'm like, I'm kind of certain that you actually are going to be using this stuff for more nefarious stuff. But you're just not seeing the rest of it. Running out of options here. This might be worth something. Yeah, it did not take. Maybe I need to refresh. No? More glitches. Well, if I can't find something in the next minute, we'll go to a default of someone who's not doing art. We won't be rating on the Rumble side. I don't think it's gonna work out. Okay, almost there. Oh, come on. Okay, I think I found one. All right, we're going to give this a shot. Well, have a very pleasant evening and morning, everybody. Just a reminder, be civil to one another. And we will see you next time, whenever that is. We're going to be doing some more of this tomorrow, and then we'll be doing other types of animation throughout the week and various art projects. All right, so getting set up, starting the raid. To the rest of you, we'll just be ending the stream after this. Heading on over there in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. See you all later. Same to you, BR Jason.